Somewhere in between the story of Neb. There was a time when I closed my eyes. From there, wherever I was that place in the darkness still had little flecks of light that darted the world of my shadows, like tiny brush strokes of white paint on a black canvas. Just when I felt my life was normal, and I could leave everything behind. A little crack would rip through my canvas, sucking me and the little specks of light into a place that was lit by two suns whose light would reflect off a beach of sparkling sand. My feet would take me across the vast burning place of time to an old man in a white robe sitting on a golden throne. One could say this is where I met the man of knowledge, the keeper of time, or the old man in the hourglass. He has become the black widow to the weak, whose bones are buried deep on his beach. This is where I grew to know myself. One could say our world is not a complicated place, but I disagreed. That is why I am here in this wasteland where they age more and more each day. Sure, there are maps, puzzles, and keys to unlock my way back to my father, so I could see my mother's face one more time. That is if she hasn't forgotten about me. The new things of this world make people forget. In every one of us there are leaders, followers, and seekers. The new things want to cut everything but the followers out by the root. They wish the smart and wise to be lost and confused. I found a terrible truth. The ones that fill the asylum rooms, our straight-jacket-wearing priests, are here in this place among the youth of the world. Fear of the forgotten, I say. This is why the freaks, the technology kings and ones that choose to cover their natural beauty with makeup, became the gatekeepers of the new kingdom. This was their new world, or so they thought it was. I can still remember right before the split, my grandfather saying, "Right now we are moments away from change, we are between the old ways and the new." Sadly, social media has shown us that the forgotten ways, the right ways of life, the life skills that got each of us here and help us stay safe have been forgotten. The forgotten ways have been cast aside like scabs from the smallpox virus. He was one of the first to be sent here, with each day brought more and more. See, the gatekeepers didn't see a need to keep the old ones around, so technology would swing his doors open that kept his kingdom safe and booted out the ones that would challenge his rules. As the old ones left into this wasteland and what was soon to be called the technology-free zone, with every step, a tear would fall from their eyes and wormwood would spring up behind them. In this place, the old kingdom of things, gray-haired men and women would sit around campfires and talk about it all until they forgot their sons, daughters, and lives they lost to a computer screen. Days would go on until someone like you would show up and tell us stories of life across the wall. You must understand our concern. There has been cases where people across the wall have came into our camps to take our young. So I apologize for the ropes. The last and few of the old ones set up camps and schools. We tried to rebuild, but there are always the drones. Someone said we may have taught the gatekeepers wrong, maybe we should have taught them different or took them down another road. But, I ask you, who must that person become, what must they do? After the old kingdom falls, the rest of us dies off, what will they do with the wasteland? Build strip malls and supermarkets? Most of them live inside, they don't see the light of the day, that is the way technology wants it. On the day of easement, the day the doors swung open and kicked out the old, it was agreed that nothing would ever happen to the old ones. Not directly anyway. But our scouts say they have built reclamation camps along the wall. Maybe the old man in the desert wouldn't give them the knowledge, or maybe he told them they could break down the father to a basic chemical mixture and then load their knowledge into the computer that runs that damn place. After all, we are just ones and zeros. Meld us down and plug us in and then you have everything we know. Maybe that's what they will turn the old kingdom into. A processing plant outside the walls of the young, so they can't hear or smell the cries of their father as they turn us into organic computers that will entertain our children. Sometimes we joke in fear, sometimes another says, as children maybe we shouldn't have fed them alphabet soup. I remember hearing stories about how it all changed. The wall was put up for other reasons. The early generations became dependent on technology. Using devices called tablets or portable entertainment devices, they did this in quest for laughter and to quench the taste boredom leaves in your mouth. Doing this, they gave up little parts of themselves. Each of the parts helps create the thing that calls himself technology. He became a cancer, its tentacles reached out and took you away. Sadly, you would go happily armed with your tablet off the next website as this thing grew in the deep darks of the web. Back then we called this place the Mariana Trench. Its talons and hooks pulled them far away from our hopes. As their minds became polluted and weathered, they forgot the faces of their father and mothers. They became carbon things that took up space and clicked on the next site or post. Attempts to cut the cancer out only made it worse, because most saw this as our future, a world where smart machines help our everyday lives. As with anything, people's fear of being left out fueled the trench. So as each change happened, they were accepted. Books were gathered and burned to heat the metal, that would be poured into molds for the next year's computer or tablet. This may have been technology's greatest trick. Because with the books went choice, writers' stories now opened on glowing screens that could be easily edited and changed to meet the needs of the machine. There was no censorship, because it was changed before it met your eyes. So this is what caused the Great Divide. The old ones chose to walk the old path and the young decided to embrace technology with open arms. After the careful placement in the technology-free zone, other people started to show up from the other side. Maybe you're one? Sometimes people said or typed the wrong thing. The rule makers would attach a color to them that would read their thoughts as punishment. They were made to walk the wall. Many years ago the rule makers done away with prisons, they would just send them here. Society has a way of opening your eyes. If they thought that you would be an issue, you and that collar would come though that gate, and at some point that thing will blow up, taking out one of us and killing you. This was one of the many ways technology would make his point. Regardless of what you did as a rule break or a book reader, in his eyes you must be punished, and if you do it a lot, you have a time limit. It's not like he didn't try. If you thought or did the wrong thing, the collar would shock you, teaching you what they thought was right and wrong. The last guy to come over the wall told us they were going to put them on everyone over there. I don't know how I feel about wearing an explosive around my neck. Some of the young ones have a degree of compassion. They would use the drones to make food drops. Sometimes, if we were lucky, there would be a device called a newsreader. All it did was show current and ongoing news from that side. The thing would keep a charge for a whole week. Of course it was hard to trust anything we saw on this thing, but at least it was something. Sometimes there were maps, sometimes there would be the heads of adventures that made it over the wall. It's logical to think a person would go where they are not welcome, but love is a funny thing. Some of the old ones had family on the other side. When their time was short they would find a way, a chance to see their family one last time. If they were spotted by the sentry they would be shot on sight. Sometimes their collars would go off in the person's house they had decided to visit. This was Mr. Technology's great screw. He would get you one way or another. And then there was the depot bots, but that is another story. We were only left to guess why we only got the head back. Right before the Great Divide, a Nobel-winning scientist figured out a way to use human blood as a media to store and collect information as long as he was able to pump oxygen into the blood somehow. He soon after created information veins, that soon became the new fiber that powered the internet. Information traveling along the veins could be stored for a short amount of time. This enabled a smart, almost human-like response from the fiber network for data collection and recall. Because this was a cheap, effective way to build a vast fiber network and human blood was freely available at the time of death, the network went up very fast, before the public knew much about the specifications behind the new system. Some say this helped Mr. Technology become what he is today. In the end we all become part of the network. I just realized, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Neb. I got to know, how did you get your collar off? Neb, I just walked through the door.